At Harkand, nothing is more important than the safety and well-being of our people and the people we work with. By working together safely, we strive to ensure everyone goes home without having suffered or caused harm to themselves, others, or the environment. Harkand has clear policies and procedures designed to help us work safely. Whether you are working on a vessel, office or yard, it is essential that we all follow these and work together to make safety our #1 priority. The specific safety procedures for working on a ship or platform can be different from those on dry land. Once aboard, be aware of specific safety requirements. For example, the locations of life jackets and fire extinguishers. Each vessel has an information sheet detailing the layout and safety procedures on board.
It is important to read and understand it.
All Harkand worksites have an alarm system and specific emergency muster points. These will be explained and shown at your location after this video. In the event of an alarm, quickly but calmly make your way to the designated muster point. In the case of fire, always take the stairs, never the lift. Having arrived at the muster point, identify yourself to the relevant person.
To ensure everyone can be accounted for quickly.
Wearing the correct personal protective equipment, or PPE, is a core part of working safely. We must all be appropriately dressed and equipped for work. Harkand follows the industry standard of basic PPE. Head protection, gloves, protective eyewear, and shoes or boots with reinforced toes. As each task we undertake may be different, check the task risk assessment to identify if additional or specific types of protective equipment are required. Also, it's important not to forget about the weather.
Make sure you're dressed for the climate you're working in.
Harkand operates a safe system of working to create an effective framework to minimise risk. This SSOW applies to all staff or contractors for all operations at all our sites. Every task requires a detailed task risk assessment, which gives careful thought to the hazards involved. The risk assessment must also consider other work in the area that might create a conflict and affect safety.
This will cover what you are doing, which risks you face, and how you will protect people from those risks.
Before every work scope begins, a toolbox talk takes place. This covers the steps involved in the task, the hazards, controls for these hazards, and the roles and responsibilities within the work team. Check that your team is competent and authorised to conduct the specific operation. And check that any required certification is up to date and approved. Once at the worksite, ensure that warning signs and barriers are in place to keep people away from hazardous areas. All equipment and safety devices must be checked and certified, and the work area must be fully isolated and inspected before and after each shift.
Please keep your worksite tidy. Good housekeeping helps us all to maintain safety standards.
If the task changes or deviates from the plan, then work must stop and a reassessment of the risks undertaken. Remember, if you ever see anything unsafe at any time, you should stop work immediately. At the end of your shift, report to the correct authority. Outline what work is being carried out, what changes have been made to equipment and procedures, and whether there are any safety issues in the work area. Most important of all, no matter what you are doing or where you are doing it, if you're in doubt, ask and seek advice. Harkand encourages a culture of openness, You will always be supported when you do this. One of the most common causes of injury is poor manual handling. Whenever possible, try to avoid manual handling and instead use mechanical lifting equipment. If manual handling has to be undertaken, always assess the risks carefully in advance. Avoid lifting heavy or awkwardly shaped loads, holding loads away from the body, twisting, stooping or reaching upwards, large vertical movements, long carrying distances, strenuous pushing or pulling, and repetitive handling. Give yourself time to take sufficient rest and recovery between lifts.
No matter what you're handling, safe lifting techniques can greatly reduce the chance of injury.
Lifting operations always have the potential for significant danger and can only be carried out if properly authorised in advance. A lift plan must be drawn up by a qualified person which assesses the operation and the potential hazards involved. Each member of the team must be fully briefed and understand their role within the lifting operation. The crane operator, forklift driver or winch operator must be suitably qualified and all equipment checked and functioning correctly. Ensure that the lifting equipment is on firm foundations and that it's in a safe and secure position with no hazards nearby.
Never exceed safe working loads.
Use warning signs and barriers to keep non-essential people away from the lift path. During the lift, the banksman and crane operator must remain at the work area, have clear line of sight to each other and be able to communicate at all times. Monitor the weather conditions. If they change so that safety is compromised, stop the job.
And most importantly of all, no one should be under the load ever.
Where working at height is unavoidable, it's essential that we follow the correct procedures. Work restraints, safety harnesses and/or fall arresters are mandatory and must be fitted to a proper anchor point. Whenever possible, use a fixed gantry or walkway. Always check scaffolding or mobile platforms before use. Scaffolding must have a valid tag and be equipped with handrails and tow boards. Check for any loose objects and ensure tools and equipment are secured to prevent them being dropped. Always assess weather conditions and be prepared to stop work if your safety may be compromised. Any work with hazardous substances requires a specific permit and a detailed analysis of potential risks before the operation begins. The correct PPE, as defined by the risk assessment, must be worn by the relevant crew. Equipment designed to minimise exposure, such as local exhaust ventilation, must be fully operational. The procedure for leak response must be rehearsed beforehand and containment equipment standing by. Should a spill occur, it must be cleaned up immediately and reported. At Harkand, we work across the globe and have a commitment to do all we can to limit and reduce our impact on the environment. When planning an operation, carefully assess its potential to harm the environment. Where possible, use methods that reduce harm as much as possible. Please also observe the Harkand recycling policy. Recycle bins are provided for your waste. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Take precautions to avoid air, water or land pollution and ensure that all waste is either recycled or neutralised in an environmentally friendly manner. If you think that any contamination has taken place, then this must be reported immediately to your supervisor.
Remember, good environmental practice doesn't have to add time or cost.
We all have a responsibility towards the world we live in.
Safety is our first priority, whether you're working on a vessel, in the yard, or in an office. Our office safety rules apply to staff, contractors and visitors and must be followed at all Harkand offices. In the car park, please obey the traffic signs and speed limits. Once inside, familiarise yourself with the building's alarm procedure and muster points.
When moving around buildings, always be aware of your surroundings. Walk, don't run.
If using your phone or mobile device, find a place where you are not going to cause obstruction and remain stationary. Walking and talking is dangerous. When using the stairs, always hold onto the handrail and don't rush. Smoking is only permitted in designated exterior areas.
And if you are carrying a hot drinks, fitting a lid will help to prevent spills and burns.
While we work hard to avoid injuries, our wider health and well-being is also important. Harkand has a strict drug and alcohol policy. No one is allowed on any facility under the influence of drugs or alcohol. All our sites and vessels are manned with either first aiders or medics. They are here to help, so contact them if you feel unwell or have any medical problem that could affect your health or safety at work. Anyone going offshore and taking medication or requiring ongoing medication must inform the medic or offshore project manager. This is important in case further prescription should be required while offshore. When travelling to certain parts of the world, vaccinations will be required. Make sure you arrange your vaccination at the right time and present the documentation before travelling.
Malaria is one of the biggest killers worldwide. Please take the correct precaution.
Harkand may have vessels or a temporary office located in areas that may experience different levels of security concerns. For each project, we'll assess security threats and identify and implement additional security measures if operating in a designated maritime security zone. Get advice on food and drinking water, as the safety of these can vary from country to country. If you have any query on your travel or residence requirements in any country, our HR departments are always available with advice. Wherever we work, we should all look out for each other. If you suspect anyone is feeling unwell, report it immediately so they can get help. Hazard observation is our way of ensuring that a potential hazard does not become a risk to our safety. If you see something that could be a threat, report it. And if safe to do so, take corrective action. Everyone at Harkand, employees, contractors or visitors, has the power to stop the job. It's not just a right, it's a duty. If you see an action or procedure that improves our safety, then report that too. Let people know the good work we are doing to stay safe.
If we see or sense something which is not quite right, we must stop the job.
You will always be supported by your colleagues, supervisor and senior management.
Reporting also plays a vital role in our safety performance. It's how we record and learn from incidents to improve the way we work. Always report dangerous occurrences, near misses, injuries or illnesses. This is just the beginning of your training and competence journey with Harkand. The HR department can provide you with more information on this. Working together safely depends on all of us. It's our responsibility to create a safe environment not only for ourselves, but for those we are working with. Good safe practice is built around planning and preparation. Always think about safety before conducting any work, and once on the worksite, be vigilant. Observation and prompt intervention can be the difference between life and death. So please, if you see anything that you think could lead to an unsafe situation, stop work immediately and intervene.
If we all work together safely and avoid all the hazards, we go home safely.